birds.
Whoa.
Mayday, Mayday, Cactus 1549. We've lost both engines. Both engines.
My name is Chesley Sullenberger, but most people just call me Sully. I've been flying for 42 years, and in my wallet, I've always kept a small note that says, it's better to be late than to risk a disaster. That was my personal rule and my promise to every passenger. Skiles and I lifted off from the runway, climbing to a few thousand feet. Just as I thought this would be another routine flight, it happened. A flock of birds suddenly struck the plane. There was a loud bang, and my stomach dropped. The aircraft shook violently, and then both engines went silent. The cockpit was suddenly unnervingly quiet. My very first thought was, we've lost all power. But I couldn't panic. There were 155 levs on board, and if I lost focus, none of us would stand a chance. I tried to restart the engines, but there was no response. For a split second, a wave of hopelessness crept, but my training took over. Almost instinctively, my hand reached for the auxiliary power unit, and when the electrical systems came back online, I immediately called air traffic control. Mayday, this is Cactus 1549.
We hit birds.
Maintain 15,000 Delta 331.
We've lost thrust on both engines. We are turning back towards the water.
Okay.
They reacted quickly, suggesting a return to LaGuardia or diverting to Teterboro. But as I looked at our altitude and speed, it was clear to me we weren't going to make it. My mind was racing through every possible calculation. Every answer came back the same: impossible. Skiles kept flipping through the checklist, but I knew no manual could solve what we were facing. In just a few seconds, I ran through every option in my head, and then I made the call. We're going into the Hudson River. A water landing has less than a 1% success rate, which meant the odds were almost zero. But even with those odds, it was the only way forward. I thought of my wife, my daughters. There was a sharp ache in my chest. I couldn't afford to dwell on it. Every second of hesitation could cost lives. I gave the order, keeping my voice steady.
This is the captain. Brace for impact.
Almost immediately, the cabin crew echoed with commands.
Heads down, stay down. Brake. Heads down, stay down.
A few seconds later, the plane slammed onto the water. The jolt tightened every muscle in my body, and I held my breath. Then I realized the aircraft was still intact. We had actually made it down. There was no time to celebrate. I unbuckled and rushed out of the cockpit. The crew opened the doors. Passengers began climbing onto the wings. For a moment, I felt a small sense of relief. After the last group evacuated, I went back through the flooding cabin. Step by step, I checked every row, calling out, making absolutely sure no one was left behind. Only when I was certain did I return to the cockpit, grab the flight records, and finally, I was the last person to leave the aircraft.